No.
What's been your favorite part of the reunion so far?
Favorite part of the reunion? Shooting 42 on the back nine today.
That's good.
I've never come close to that in my life.
This week.
It's really hard to say. Lauren came last night and made a presentation about her synchronized swim team and the prospects at the Olympics. So I think that was pretty interesting. But the whole thing here has just been great. The barbecue tonight was terrific.
Tell me so far.
All the getting to know the children that I've just seen photos of and never seen them in life, and being with all the family and enjoying the love and the closeness that the McFalls have.
Great.
One of the favorite parts was to watch these children. They are attractive and so fascinating. And I wasn't really well acquainted with them, especially yours and Caleb.
Great.
Oh, I think being with all the families and especially seeing the children. They have just had a wonderful time, and it's just been great to see children that you've never met before. And of course it's great to be with all the brothers and the sons and the grandchildren.
I think it's been a wonderful adventure for all of these people that don't hardly ever get together to get acquainted and to have fun together, because we have a wonderful family, and to have these people all get acquainted and to share their lives and their children's lives has been very meaningful to me and to the others as well.
Great. What has it meant to you to grow up and now to continue to be part of the McFall Brotherhood, meaning part of the 6 brothers?
It's a real definition of wealth. This is riches. I'm the youngest and was the most spoiled probably, and the most loved and cared for. Each one of these older guys took a hand in raising me since my dad had been killed. And where could you find nicer, more wonderful guys to help you grow up?
Well, I think it's extraordinary for a family to feel a sense of closeness and camaraderie on an ongoing basis. And I think the reason that has happened is because of our parents got us started in a great way, a healthy way. And it's just been wonderful to have this sense of belonging to a big family where there's a lot of love expressed.
Brothers.
Well, a great deal of pride and a feeling of, well, there's a special feeling that we all share, because every one of us love all the others, and there's no animosity or jealousy or anything except love that we share. And I think that's something real special.
Tell me.
It's been a lot of fun. When Bob graduated from in the Air Force, became a second lieutenant, for instance, he was in charge of the entire flight, and I was so proud of him. And I've always been proud of Paul, and I enjoyed Don and Malcolm a great deal, and Cress. I live near Cress, and we're good friends.
Well, it's been so important. We have made sure that we've kept our relationship on a very good level, harmonious. We're all very compatible, even though we're completely different in so many ways. But even though we don't see each other sometimes for some periods of time, we feel so very close when we get together.
Yeah.
Well, we were raised by Earl and Lorraine McFall, who did a super job, I think, of raising 6 boys, and through hard times and times that were not hard. And we learned some good principles that we felt were very valuable to a family. We had a wonderful family life. We learned principles of life that we felt were very essential. And these guys are really, really nice guys that I've enjoyed knowing and sharing our life with, and it's been a wonderful life to know these guys. And I've been very grateful to my mother and father and to all these brothers for being a part of it.
Tell me a thing about your mom that you think of when you remember her.
Just the most deeply Christian person. How do you know someone all your life who never never was cross, never got angry? I mean, all the stuff I did, and she would be so patient and kind. And the reason that I turned out as well as I did was because of her. When my friends were going off, I wouldn't because of her.
And remember her.
My mother loved to have beautiful things, and she was a gracious lady. I think gracious is the word that epitomizes her personality. She could entertain the wealthiest or the poorest, and just be so gracious. And she was very good with her boys. You know, since my dad was gone most of the time, it fell to my mother to raise us, and I think that says worlds about my mother.
Tell me.
Oh my. Well, Mom was so many things. She was such a wonderful lady. One of her secret desires had always been to dance. And she finally got to do that after Dad died. And the boys were pretty well grown and in college. And she got to Arthur Murray to learn dancing of all the fancy ballroom dances and all this. And she would travel with them, and she fulfilled that part of her life's dream, as well as raising all 6 of us boys. And I think she's the one who precipitated the love that all of us share. And she was a wonderful organizer and such a fine lady that she was voted not only she was the president for the state of Texas of the PEOs. And that, there were hundreds of women who were multimillionairesses that could have been, but they chose her because she was such an outstanding lady. And she just was always the most loving and patient person in the world.
Well, she was a natural mother. She was very easy for her to have 6 boys and raise them. And when Dad was killed in '49, she had press that about he was like 13 and Malcolm was 9, and they were such good companions for her on trips and in school, you know, and was such an interest for her, helped her a great deal. And Mother was, at one time, I believe she was governor of the PEO in San Antonio. And when she came to California, she was in PEO out here with some lovely women. And I was quite proud of her.
Tell me something about.
Well, I mainly think about her graciousness. She was one of the most gracious women I've ever known. She had, it wasn't hard love, it was soft love, but she did everything by having us want to love her and help her. So when we wanted to go play basketball, and she said, "All right, but I'll have to do all the work if you go." Well, you can imagine, we didn't go. So she was a very lovely lady.
Tell me something about your think of as you remember her.
My mother was the most dedicated mother that I have ever known. Her family was everything. She was deeply in love with her husband, and her children were just precious to her. And every one of us realized that the way she loved us every day, and her always consideration of each one of us, and her protective attitude, her loving attitude, her joyful attitude, her sound principled attitude was just a wonderful mother. I've just been so fortunate to have such a wonderful mother.
Can you tell me? And the last question is, tell me something about your dad that made you a better man.
Hi, Luke. Doodle-doo. You wouldn't like it. It's not that good.
Here's coffee.
You know, this seriousness of purpose. I've never been as serious as he was, but the influence of a purpose and purposefulness, and just doing your level best at your purpose, whatever you decided to do. And oh heck, I think you know, my dad grew up in such a different era. You know, he was born in 1896. Went through the Great Depression. He was completely blindsided by it. He had no idea that such things happened, and then he got very careful because he had all these boys, and he didn't like going broke, and so he sort of got very conservative and serious, and I loved him for it, you know. I just heard on this trip, Carew was explaining to me that I was the apple of his eye, and I never really knew it, but probably could be said about all of us.
Well, my dad was killed when I was 13, so I didn't have a lot of exposure to him. But one of the things that happened was I was trying to mow the grass in the backyard of our home in Gramercy. And it was a push mower, and I was 11 or 12 years old, and it was pretty challenging, high grass, and I wasn't tall enough to really move the mower. And I would push it a few feet and then back up and then attack it again and then push, you know, and over and over again. And my dad was sitting in a chair on the patio, and he said, "Let me show you how to do it." And he took all of the lawnmower and it was probably 100-degree weather, mowed the whole backyard without stopping, and then sat down with a glass of iced tea and said, "Now that's the way you work." You know, and it's an impression I've never forgotten.
Wow.
Well, it was his competitiveness, he was a very competitive person, and he loved sports. At one time when Bob and Paul and I'm not sure if Crew was there or not, they were at Pren, and he had a few days in his work that he didn't have to be someplace. So he told Mom that he wanted to go to Pren and visit the boys. And she thought that would be a wonderful idea. And he said, well, but first I have to go downtown and get some ties that will look good when I get to Pren. So, I mean, he was that kind of person. He would think of something like that.
Yeah.
To make sure the boys were real proud of him, because he was awfully proud of them.
Yeah.
Well, Dad was made sure I got into Principia, and that kind of revolutionized my life. I needed that very much, and here he was putting 3 men in the private school, you know, at a high cost, and then I traveled with him on weekends when he would go out on a well, and he asked me to go along and drive for him and be with him, and I saw that the men he worked with respected him so much, and he was very good friends with his clients when he had a drilling company. And when Clyde Alexander wanted to form a small oil company in 1933, he could have selected among hundreds of people he knew in the oil business, and he selected Dad. And I thought that was very important. And Dad did a wonderful job.
Oh, definitely by setting an example, by setting the high moral and ethical standards. Dad was very religious. Dad worked in Christian Science. Even though some of the brothers are not still in it, we all have reflected his morals, his ethics, his work ethic, and we loved and respected him so much.
Great.
Dad was of the old school, very strong discipline, and was a real hard worker. And he came through the Depression and built another company and lost everything during the Depression. And Dad was so dedicated to protecting the family and providing for the family that he worked so hard all of his life. And he was a very big and strong man, and he made each boy very competitive in his attitude. He was an athlete himself, and he wanted us to be competitive in everything we ever did. And he was a person that we all realized was very strong, not only in physical but in mental and discipline and highest principles.
I saw some of that competitiveness today on the golf course.
Boy, he was very, very competitive all of his life. He was when he was a boy, and he grew up that way. And he was a wonderful wrestler, and wrestled some of the very best wrestlers in the country as a young man. And but he just taught us all to be very independent, but yet very high principled. And I was very grateful to him for that.
Great. That's it.